All right, y'all, welcome to the show. So Bernie Sanders has issued a dire warning of Trump's fascism. I'm going to show you that video. We're going to talk about that. We've also hit peak Fell For It Again award levels, the likes of which nobody has ever seen before in human history. So I'll show that to you. We also have MAGA influencers are really going full Nazi, and they stopped pretending. Wait until you see the coordinated talking points that they're running with. I mean, this is next level, y'all. Then I'm going to ask you all the question. Tim Dillon appears to have gone scorched earth on the Trump regime. Is he officially breaking up with them? He's, of course, one of the Rogan Sphere comedians, and they're all either fully MAGA adjacent or semi-MAGA adjacent. But this was an interesting clip of him going after the Palantir mass surveillance blackmail database that they're trying to create. So we'll get into that. We also have some military vets have turned on Trump over deploying soldiers to Los Angeles. We also have some incredible poll numbers, which go to show you that there's a dark truth about Israel that nobody wants to admit, but we're going to admit it here. And then also, John Fetterman is flirting with going full MAGA, and wait until you see what the abundance crew is up to, right? You know, the abundance liberals who think they're the future of the Democratic Party. Wait until you see what they just voted for. So we have all that and more. Everybody do me a huge favor. Please subscribe to the channel. That helps out massively and costs you nothing at all. Much love to all of you who support this show on Patreon. We literally couldn't do it without you. This is real independent media. Please consider giving $2 a month or $5 a month or $7 a month. That link is below if you'd like to do that, or you could tip with that thanks button on YouTube. You could also support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That's below as well. We have Pisco coming on this week. We're going to talk about all the fascist mayhem that's currently going on. And also, go subscribe to Corin's World, the YouTube channel Corin's World, because we still post Kyle and Corin podcast, but we do it over on his channel. I believe he's at about 14,000 subs right now. We're trying to get him all the way up to 100,000, so go hook my boy up with a sub. And you won't regret it, because we got some great Kyle and Corin episodes that have been coming out, so go check that out as well. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into it here. Let's start with Bernie. So Bernie released a statement the other day about what's currently going on in Los Angeles. You had these massive ICE raids that were going on, where Trump's ICE Gestapo thugs were going into Home Depots and 7-Elevens and hair salons, going where there's all these innocent people, rounding them up, people with no criminal record, trying to deport them. That led to a colossal backlash. You basically have the public and the community snapped, seeing that their loved ones were being kidnapped. Led to a massive protest. They surrounded the ICE building. They were demanding the release of the innocent people. And then in response to that, you had Trump decide, I'm going to federalize the California National Guard and put them under my command instead of Gavin Newsom's command. I'm going to send in the National Guard. Then he also decided to send in the Marines. By the way, it's also... he used a totally dubious legal theory to get to that point, too, by the way. The original reporting was that he invoked the Insurrection Act to get to that point. He actually didn't do that yet. But the law that he used to justify doing this says very clearly that the Democratic governor or the governor of the state in question would have to approve of it before Trump did it. Well, that didn't happen. So Gavin Newsom is suing to stop that. Total chaos, as you all know. Bernie's watching this all, and he chimes in with the following.
I want to take a moment to address what's going on in Los Angeles right now. Let's be clear. Trump's deployment of the National Guard and Marines in California is not about the protests. It is not about ICE, and it's really not about immigration. It's about using extremely dubious legal authority to expand his never-ending grasp for more power and his effort to move this country toward authoritarianism. This is a president, as you all know, who has usurped the constitutional responsibilities of Congress. He has threatened to impeach judges who rule against his policies. He has and is suing media for coverage that criticizes him. He has extorted money from law firms that have represented his opponents, and he is withholding funds from universities for teaching courses he doesn't like. In terms of what's happening in Los Angeles, let us understand that in our federalist form of government, local, state, federal, it is the governor of a state who deploys the National Guard, not the president of the United States. Trump's argument for his deployment of the troops is absurd and laughable. Does anyone really believe that we are in the midst of a foreign invasion or a rebellion against the United States? That, believe it or not, is his legal argument. Let's take stock of what Trump has done here. He has conducted massive illegal raids. He has provoked a counter response, and then he has called in the troops. That is how an authoritarian rules. In this unprecedented moment in modern American history, it is imperative that all of us, no matter what our political views may be, stand together against the president who has little respect for the rule of law or our Constitution. The future of American democracy is at stake.
That's a dire warning right there if I've ever seen one. You know, at the same time, I know Bernie has been very hesitant to use the F word, fascist, when talking about basically anybody except the historic Nazi regime. But I have to say, we're there. We're there. Go look at any academic definition of what fascism is and go down the checklist, and you tell me it is not stunningly obvious that this is where we are. I mean, you're talking about you have all these ICE agents who seemingly have been deputized like overnight. They're in plain clothes. They're covering their faces with gaiters, no badges, with normal plates. They're literally, going around and rounding up innocent people. They're waiting outside of courtrooms. And even if a judge says you're free to go to the immigrant in question, they'll still round that person up. And so you, like he says, you have this massive illegal act, these massive illegal raids that provokes the counter response. And understand, guys, that's what they want. They want it because it gives them the thinnest veneer to say, oh, we had to send in the troops. We had to do it. We had to bring about law and order. And so this was all laid out, y'all. This was all laid out in plain language in Project 2025. And this is the attempt to go full fascist. This is the attempt to go full what's called unitary executive theory. No more checks and balances. Make sure the executive has all the power. Make sure everybody underneath the executive is loyal to the executive above the Constitution. And that's exactly where we are right now. And so we've seen it with Los Angeles. Now the reporting is they're going to do the same thing in Chicago and Seattle and New York. So illegal raids, round up innocent people. Of course, the public snaps, comes out in protests, trying to save the lives of their loved ones. Then, boom, not only do you send in the police officers, but then comes the National Guard gets federalized, then comes the Marines, and we all saw that terrifying speech Trump gave the other day to active duty military, where it was hyper-partisan and super far-right and white nationalist and authoritarian anti-constitution, where he's ranting about how we need to punish flag burners with a year in prison, even though that is directly against the First Amendment, and the military officials were cheering. They were cheering on the destruction of the Constitution from the same guy who, by the way, said we need to terminate all rules, regulations, and articles in the Constitution. Look, it really is a time to stand up. If you are one of these people who's being given these illegal orders, you have to resign. You have to resign. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy. I know you spent years of your life training to get to the place where you are right now. But if you're in some National Guard or you're in the Marines or you need to step down. You need to step down. We can't live in a country where the Mad King makes any declaration they want and then it just gets carried out, right? Because think of it, there is no limiting principle. Where does it end? You have Trump talking about stealing Greenland. So if you're in the U.S. military and you're sent to go do an invasion of Greenland to steal it and take away the sovereignty of the country, you're going to do that? Are you going to do it for Panama? Or is this really how far we've fallen, where the just following orders thing is all that's left? So it really is a historic moment. It's a devastating and terrifying moment. At the same time this is going on, we of course have Trump's police state tyrannical dictator parade coming up within a couple days on his birthday. Tanks are rolling into D.C. as we speak. The same time he is sending the Marines into American cities and planning on sending them into more cities. He's saying that he won't allow any protesters for his military parade, which again is just a massive violation of the First Amendment. Who's going to stop it, right? Who's going to stop it? Look, the courts have done a decent job in saying, hey, you can't do that, right? But what happens? We're always playing catch up. It's always 6 months later, one court says it, and then another court will say it, and then you'll get a third or fourth court that's like, yeah, you can't do that, and then they just keep doing it. How much longer do we have to wait for Democrats to grow a spine and impeach? How much longer do we have to wait? By the way, Bernie delivers this great statement here. Gavin Newsom has been fighting really hard because it's his state that's in danger right now. Where are all the other Democrats? Where are all the other Democrats? How is the resistance this pathetic and this weak and this slow that on a daily basis you get 17 things that you should be hair on fire about and you react to like none of them or maybe one of them if we're lucky? I don't know how we got to this place, man. I really don't. But there's a line in the sand, and which side are you on is the real question for the moment. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.